The Minding Your Business Podcast, episode number 105, is brought to you by the Binge Podcast Network on binge.com, baby. Woo! That's what we're doing. Plenty of shows for your listening binge purposes. The Startup Life Podcast, Just Blurting, Nothing But Buckets, Let's Be Real, Quotally. We go all down the line, and including this very podcast. So make sure you check that out on binge.com. Make that move today. Like, share, listen. Share it with 10 of your friends and 5 of your enemies today. BrooksBrothersConsulting.com. Brooks Brothers Consulting for all your business, banking consulting. Let's level up. You can do that today. Private lending. If you need lending, you're not necessarily ready to go into the bank. Check us out at brooksbrothersconsulting.com. Episode number 105 here on August the 15th, 2019. Let's do it.
What we do here is go back.
All right, I am your host, Champ Ron, and let's get right into it. Let's get into it today with no delay at all. My guest today, Justin Goodbread, owner, founder of Heritage Investors and financialeducator.com, joins us today. He's going to bring us some great nuggets of value and insight today, MYB community. And so, Justin, are you there?
I'm here, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing phenomenal, man. How are you?
Outstanding.
Man, that's what I love to hear, man. And everybody here is giving their thumbs up. They're ready to go. They're pumped. They got their iPads. They got their notes and pen and paper. And so they're ready to get blessed today with some insight, man. So let's jump right into it.
Sure.
Justin, for those that aren't familiar with you, they may have been living under a rock, or they just arrived to Earth last week and they don't know. So for those folks, who is Justin Goodbread, and how did you get to where you are?
Sure. So I can tell you simply, Justin Goodbread is just an old country boy from the sticks and the swamps of South Georgia. I was born and raised literally with alligators running around near our house. So on a dirt road, and coincidentally, even after some success, I still live on a dirt road. I don't know, man. I can't get away from the country.
Hey, man, sometimes it's just bred in us, man.
I hear you. No, so I was born in South Georgia. Started my first business when I was 16. Sold it whenever I met my wife, Miss Emily. So we sold that business. I moved to East Tennessee. I know you and I are Tennesseans. We're just on the opposite sides of the state. You're over there where it's really hot, but you guys have some great barbecue.
We do. We got both of those.
Yeah.
And you're there in volunteer country.
Yes. It's very tough being a Georgia Bulldog, living over here where I have to listen to this crazy song called Rocky Top all the time.
Oh yeah, God, we got to hear that crap too over here. So I'm just kidding.
I started my first business, sold it whenever she and I got married when I was early 20s. Moved to Knoxville, kind of wrapped up in the financial world from the financial advisory aspect. Started a couple other businesses, sold them. And started one of the businesses that I currently own back in 2009. So I came to the world of Heritage Investors, which is what's called a registered investment advisor, where we advise business owners on how to, what I like to say is attempt, or at least try, to double their net worth every 3 to 5 years. That's what my goal is for our clients.
Okay.
So we started this business back in 2009 and had some good success, realized who our perfect client was. Then we launched Financially Simple in about early 2017, late 16. And man, Financially Simple catapulted us into the national press. I write for many major publications. My name's appeared, and I write for Forbes. I had 2 articles appear this month already in Forbes. Kiplinger, names appeared on Fox and MSN. You name it, it's just about been there. Some writings or some videos. But it all stemmed out of Financially Simple, which is where I call the hub of my learning. The coolest thing that happened is, Ron, is the success. We just had our first book released called The Ultimate Sale.
Okay.
With the idea that a business owner, no matter where they're at in business, has to start immediately preparing their business to sell.
Yes.
That's the idea behind it. I've lived this. I've walked it. I talk it. I teach it day in, day out on a national level. And, man, it's in my blood, and that's what gets me out of bed every day. So I hope that gives you a little bit of background about me.
Yep, it certainly does, Justin. I appreciate that. And let's stay on that topic because, when I talk with business owners, we often talk about exit strategy. And I normally get that look, like, probably, a Tennessee Volunteer against a Georgia Bulldog on Saturday. You get that deer in the headlight look.
Yes, no doubt.
Yeah, so let's touch on that a little bit. In terms of coaching business owners to be prepared to sell and to look at that exit strategy. Why is that important?
I think we can find out why it's important, Ron, in the numbers. So let me give you some stats here, okay? And I cover these in detail in my book, but here's some quick stats for you. So in the United States currently, there are 5.6 million small or what's called micro businesses. Those are the businesses which have less than $5 million of revenue. Okay. In the middle market, which is $5 million of revenue to $100 million of revenue per year, there's about 351,000. And that's where most studies mark on that, 351,000 businesses. So we're dealing with a ton of businesses, 6 million businesses roughly, that make less than $100 million. Now here's where it gets stupid crazy. 80% of businesses, now this is businesses in the middle market, and we're not talking about mom and pops, my business and a lot of other businesses making less than 5. We're talking about even middle-sized businesses. 80% of the middle-sized businesses never sell. They just don't sell. So that if you break it down to mom and pop style business, and I'm not anything derogatory about that, I'm just talking about the size of the revenue.
Sure.
It's even greater than that. Okay? So then when we look at the stats going forward, so if we realize right now that only 20% of businesses in the middle market actually sell, now we're dealing with in the next 10 years, because of what happened in 07, 08, and 09, with the economic, debacle and then now the recovery that's transpired the last few years, there's expected to be in the next 10 years, some 250,000 of those middle market businesses expect to sell. So if you ran the ratios, in the small market, in the micro market, we're dealing with about 4.7 million businesses that are going to attempt to sell in the next 10 years. So let those sink in. First of all, the number of businesses that are going to sell. And then out of all those businesses, roughly only about 15%, depending on which study you read, actually sell. And only 3% of businesses sell for what the owners think they're worth.
Wow.
So if you put that context around this true data, this idea that we entrepreneurs have, that we're going to create a business and it's going to be super awesome, and then somebody's going to come riding in on a white knight with a big fat check and give it to us, it just doesn't work, man. It's broken. The whole dream is broken. So if you know that the likelihood of you selling your business is already improbable, statistically speaking, okay? Then what we have to do as business owners is step back and say, okay, two things. First question, what do we do if our business never sells? If we realize that 80% of our net worth is our business, if we're looking at our balance sheet or our personal financial statement and our net worth is our business, then we first of all have a problem that we have a very illiquid asset that's not worth anything to us, which is why most people work until they die. So the second thing is, if we realize that 80% of our money is in our business and we got to figure out how to get out of it, then we can examine those businesses which actually do sell for a profit, and we can duplicate what they did to make our businesses more attractive to buyers. Does that kind of make sense to you?
Yep, it definitely does. And so then, Justin, why doesn't the business sell? So if someone's got a business, of course, there probably could be a myriad of reasons, but what are some of the top 2 or 3 reasons that someone puts their business on the market and it doesn't sell?
So one of my favorite statements I like to say is this, okay? I say this just about every meeting that I have. In fact, my clients, we work with business owners all over the United States. They're sitting here saying, Justin, I know what you're going to say. The McDonald's brothers, we've all seen the golden arches around the world in our local neighborhoods. The McDonald's brothers, the founders of McDonald's, they cooked a lot of hamburgers in their life.
Sure.
And it wasn't until Ray Kroc came along that McDonald's came onto the map. Ray Kroc never cooked a hamburger. But here we are today. McDonald's is this multi-billion-dollar conglomerate that's now everybody realizes the success around it. The number one reason, if you put that as your backdrop, you say, okay, why is it businesses don't sell? The number one thing, business owners build their business around themselves. They become the center of the business. They are the chief bottle washer. They are the head cook. They are the toilet cleaner. They are the janitor. They're the CFO, the CEO. Everything is around them. And you can't transfer what is in your head or what you do by happenstance or what you may have made you real successful. You may be making a ton of money, but no willing buyer who is looking at a business and saying, I want to invest my money in here for return on my investment, is going to invest their dollars into what is in your head or what you, the business owner, does naturally. You have to do what Ray Kroc did. You have to remove yourself from the business. You have to make the business where it's self-sustaining without you, the business owner. And only when you can make that business self-sustaining without you, do you truly have a business. Until then, you have a high-paid job.
True.
Once you can create it to where it's a business that is profitable, competitive, scalable, means you can build it up, reduce it really fast. It's sustainable. It's going to get through tough times. And it's transferable, meaning you can move it from one location to the next. One buyer, it doesn't matter who the owner is. The business is going to operate without the owner regardless. And it's invulnerable from attack. If you can get those 6 things there, removing yourself as a business owner, you now have a sellable business. So the number one reason why businesses don't sell is because it's designed around the owner.
Yeah. And when you mention that large population, Justin, of businesses, it makes total sense, right? Because, I've got a consulting practice, for example. The whole business, the whole universe is centered around me, And so if right now, get people use these crude examples. I get hit by a bus after this show, right? I can't go do anything else. My business lays in the bed with me until I recover. Now, I've got, I got, the internet and some things like that, but I can't go consult a bank, which means I can't go generate revenue if I'm not up and going until I automate that process. And I think what you're leading to is not just automate the process, but you've got to have it transferred out of our heads as business owners to some kind of documentation, to where I liken it to a play, and we were talking football earlier. It's like a football play. Nick Saban's no good with everything in his head. He's got to be able to put it down and put the plays down so that if Nick Saban goes and sits down, the offensive coordinator or any other of the 1,000 coaches he's got on the sideline can pick up and at least start calling plays and operate a game and manage a game.
Look at it this way, Ron. There's basically 2 styles of businesses. You have what's called a lifestyle business, which is what you said you're running. In other words, you have a business that you're the man in. Everything is dependent upon you, which is nothing wrong with that, but it's providing the income that maybe you and your family need, and you're happy with it, but it's hard to transfer that. It's called a lifestyle business. Versus a competitive business versus a transferable business is exactly what you said. What did Ray Kroc, the owners of McDonald's, do differently than the McDonald brothers? I'll tell you, it's super easy. He created a system that taught 16-year-olds how to cook French fries in 300-degree grease or whatever the temperature is without burning down the building.
Right.
Okay? He created a system to where when we go in there, we know exactly that we're going to get 2 pickles on every cheeseburger. We know that because it's a system. So everything in that business is what's now scalable. It's able to be where if there's more people that come through the front door, you just got to add another 16, 17, 18-year-old there dropping fries. If there's not as many people coming through the front door, you can back it down to maybe one person floating between making the cheeseburgers and cooking the French fries. So what we have to do is, as you're likening it to Nick Saban or any of the football plays that you and I were chatting about, what we have to do is exactly what you said. We got to get not only the plays down, but we have to get all the contingencies. We have to know how we're going to recruit. What's the secret sauce to make the recruiting work? How is the quarterback coach going to train this quarterback differently than maybe a running quarterback versus a passing quarterback? What are the mechanisms? So when you look at a business, Ron, you have, and this is the biggest key for us business owners to realize, there are 8 key areas to business. There's only 8.
Okay. And
if you realize these 8 key areas, then you can hone in on what makes the value of your company grow faster. So your 8 key areas, you have planning. So typically your CEO is doing the planning. You have leadership. That could be any of the C-suites, or that could be the the sole proprietor, etc. He's doing some leadership between the people underneath him. You have sales and marketing. Marketing is what tells people your message. Sales is what brings them to the boat, so to speak, or brings them to the door. You have people and operations. You have to have a good team. Nick Saban's team would not be any good unless he had a bench, a group of players that was multiple deep. He had to have 3 quarterbacks in the playoff game 2 years ago.
Right.
Okay, so he has to have a really deep bench. So you have to have really good people on your team, and you have to have operations that's able to say, how do I teach the 16-year-old to drop the right amount of French fries? How do I know exactly how much ice to put into the cup so I'm not wasting revenue on too much ice or not enough ice? After you get through those people and operations, then you deal with legal and finance. Okay, finance and legal. So if you look at those 8 key areas of your business, the goal is to make each of those 8 areas what's called a best-in-class business. Best-in-class being that if you build your marketing plan so well that you can take your business to a conference, and you can be, or your marketing director can be the key speaker at the conference of your peers and tell your peers how to run their marketing program. Your key sales executive can go to the conference of your peers and tell your peers how to run their sales department. The goal is for us to take each of those 8 key areas and make it to where we're best in class.
Yeah.
You can't do that with one person.
Right.
And so you have to begin scaling. You have to begin moving yourself, the business owner, out of a business owner-centric business and start creating those systems and those people who can now step in and take that business further than you could ever imagine, which, by the way, is all Ray Kroc did.
Yeah. And so Justin Goodbread is our guest today here on the Minding Your Business podcast. And Justin, let me ask you about this, because in conjunction with that, here's the pushback that you tend to get. A lot of business owners don't want to let go, and they don't trust easily.
Correct.
Because that's their baby. Right. And we all we take that centric kind of approach to where we hear you. We want to be able to do that. But it's just so darn hard to find good people that you could trust, that you can bring in. And like you mentioned, in McDonald's, like you say, you have kind of, different measures, like you said, to make sure the 16-year-old doesn't burn down the building. But, particularly take me, for example, in consulting, where, I'm talking with a bank and you only get one shot to make that good impression, Right. And so it's a little different than, cooking cheeseburgers and putting 2 pickles on it. No, you piss off that bank CEO and, I might be screwed in the state for 5 years, depending on their stance. And so I guess my question is how do folks like us get past that fear and insecurity of bringing in and hiring people and then taking time to train them and groom them, which I think is something really missing across the whole industry, across the country, is there's no training and grooming. But, so how do we get past that to scale?
So you're exactly right. I have personally experienced that emotion now 7 times in my businesses. Okay, so I know the emotion. I deal with it, and I fight it every day. Here's the way you deal with it. Let me do a little teaching here, and then we'll answer your question. So, most people are aware of the DISC, D-I-S-C, personality test, or the Myers-Briggs personality test, or 16 personalities. What it does is it takes every human, and it kind of tracks us into what makes us tick as people. Okay, most business owners are going to have a D personality. That's that CEO mentality. I can charge hell with a water pistol. No one, everybody get out of my way.
Right.
Okay? My personality, for example, I'm as high a D as you can get. I'm the person. You tell me no, I'm going to tell you 1,000 ways how I can make it happen. Yes, that's who I am. Where I'm very weak at is the opposite of me. My wife, my business partners are the opposite of a D, which is an S. Somebody who's very steady, somebody who's calm, somebody who follows systems. They're not out there renegade, charging hell with a water pistol. They're not blazing the path. They're following, and they're trying to methodically say, here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3, 4. Okay? The duties that we have in a business, now that we know that we have these personalities, 1 of 4 personalities with maybe 2 prominent, 2 minors. Once you know what this personality of you personally is, the first step is to hire your polar opposite. Just like a magnet has a positive and a negative. No matter what your personality is, the first person you bring into the game is the opposite of who you are. the person who's going to pick up your blind side. If you want to be the quarterback of the football team, so be it. But you can't be the running back, the linebacker, and the wide receiver, and the tight end and everything else. You can't be all positions.
Right.
So you hire the person who is the most complementary to you first, and you start delegating and releasing those tasks which you're not good at. Because if you're not good at them and you hire the direct opposite of you, that person will be good at them.
Right.
And you play that game for a period of time until your confidence is relieved, until you have confidence that you can relinquish control, so to speak. Then you do the assessment between you and that person that you hired, and you find out where both of your weaknesses are. You hire in that other person who doesn't have the same personality as the two of you, and you relinquish some more. And you can do that around that paradigm of personality mixing until it's time to create the mini-me, using an Austin Powers example here. Okay?
Right.
I know that's probably bad to use, but until it's time to create that mini-me, that person who now you're going to groom, you're going to entrust, you're going to invest time, energy, trust, everything in this person, so that now they can duplicate, relieve some pressure, allow you to now focus on the business versus whatever that key area that you really love. In your case, it would be consulting. So now you've got to create everything in your brain that makes you a great consultant. You've got to get that, and you've got to start training and systematizing that process so that you can not only impart it on one person, you can impart it on 200 people.
Yes.
But you're not going to jump to that last step until you fall back and you walk through the process of slowly relinquishing control of those things that, honestly, that we're not good at. Okay, so in my business, for example, I'm really good at doing what we do here. I love to talk. I love to tell people the story. I love to tell people, man, we can help you. I love to get into the details and show business owners how to double their net worth every 3 to 5 years. I love to write, which is the book and all that stuff we've written now. Dude, don't ask me to fill out paperwork.
Right.
Don't even do it. I'm not going to do it. In fact, if you ask me to fill out paperwork, I'm like, I'm not touching it. Find somebody else to do it. So the first person that I hired in was somebody who knew how to detailed enough to keep doing the paperwork. And so I would say, hey, yeah, you want to work with us? Cool. I'll be the guy up front. But look, man, I got like 7 people behind me, and some of the other consultants are going to work with us all because I'm not good enough to be good at all 8 areas. I'm really good at this, and so I want to help you here, but I'm going to relinquish control of everything else. So for me, the first thing was paperwork. And it was easy because I hated it. And so to answer your direct question now, after all that teaching, find the one thing you hate and give it away. And then it becomes easier every time you do it.
There you go. And that's a good, I think, MYB, if you're not writing that down, you should, because that's, I think, a really good analogy and way to put it and the way to view it. And a lot of things come back to attitude and mindset. So thank you for that, Justin. I think that was certainly helpful for me, man. And I think it's helpful for everybody else that's listening to this podcast now. And so as you transition from that, let's, say, you start your system, you get it up and going, and you're moving and you're kind of grooving and shaking. Justin, how do business owners properly assess their value? And then what are, a couple tips on things they can do to increase that value?
Okay, so value being, what is the company's sale price? Okay, let's define value first, okay? So the most valuable thing in a business should not be the assets. It shouldn't be your customer base. It shouldn't be the equipment that you own. It shouldn't be the contracts you have, which is what most business owners try to strive for. The most valuable thing in the business that you should be working for is what's called intangible assets. Okay, there's 4 basic intangible assets. The intangible assets, let's go back to the Alabama Crimson Tide, okay?
Okay.
First intangible asset Alabama Crimson Tide has is they have unbelievable human capital. They have unbelievable coaches. They have unbelievable players. And they just don't have superstars at one level. They have superstars 3 or 4 levels deep. And even further than that, they have superstars they're recruiting for 6 years from now already. So they have unbelievable human capital. Okay? So that's the first one. In your business, you have to get the absolute best people you can on your team. Have to. That's number 1. That's an intangible asset. The second thing you have to have is you have to have unbelievable customer capital. So we all heard the term customer concentration, which is where you have one particular customer who brings in 80% of your revenue. That's like, no bueno, that's not good, that's going to hurt you. What you want to do on the opposite side of that is you want to have a customer base that is loyal, that is, fighting mad if you say something about their company. I'll give you an example outside of Alabama, which we all know how Alabama fans can be. No offense to anybody out there. I'm a Bulldog and I can be just as belligerent. But think about Apple computers, Apple phones. Man, if you ever I'm a Samsung guy, and anytime I tell somebody I'm a Samsung guy, I'm going to tell them, hey, tweet me at Justin Goodbread, and I'm going to get like 5 or 6 different messages. Dude, you need to get an Apple, get with the right bus. Well, that's because Apple has unbelievable customer capital. You have to do the same thing in your business. You have to turn your customers into raving fans and they are just out singing your praises. That's the number 2 thing that adds value to your company. Okay. The number 3 thing has got to be the structural capital. Structural capital. The structural capital is what I was referring to at McDonald's. It's the systems. It's the processes that can take a customer, track it down to every metric within your business, be able to quantify it, and be able to improve it. Okay? It's the flow through, or the throughput is the term I like to use. Alabama Crimson Tide, the structural capital there would be their recruiting, for example. How in the world are they recruiting best talent over and over and over again? There's a secret sauce there. Okay. So that would be their structural capital.
Right.
And then finally for businesses, the social capital. Social capital is how the world, who is not your customer base, views your company. You have to have such a positive light in the world abroad that when they hear the name of your organization, that, man, it brings good harmonic things. People are just raving fans, and they're not even a customer of yours yet. If you can work on those 4 things, the human, the customer, the structural, and the social capital, if you can work on those 4 things, everything else falls in place.
Wow.
Everything that the average financial person is going to tell you, this is what increases the value, everything else will fall in place. You'll end up making more profit. You'll be competitive. You'll be scalable. You'll be transferable. It's a sustainable business if you focus on those 4 intangible assets.
There you go. No, it certainly does. And those 4, again, MYB, are human capital, customer capital, structural capital, and social capital. Make sure you jot that down. And again, we want to get you connected with Justin if you're serious about adding this level of expertise. But that's just phenomenal. I wrote those down so I can make sure that I look into that even deeper, Justin, and apply it to my business. And so, that's phenomenal stuff.
If you go to the blog, Financially Simple, Ron, I've got not only the podcast that I do, Financially Simple is on every major outlet out there. I spent probably 6 months dealing with each of those in depth and ripping them apart. And there's probably a good 50, 60, 70 blog posts out there on the blog and that many podcasts. And it actually makes up the heart of the book, The Ultimate Sale. It talks about those things in particular and how intangible assets directly drives the value greater than going out and trying to make more money. Now, I'm going to say something here. I know you're getting ready to wrap up, but I'm going to leave you with one big nugget here, okay?
Sure.
Most people, and I used to think this way until I got into the world of selling my own businesses and walking many, many dozens of clients through this process, from businesses selling for $1 million to up to $80 million, okay?
Okay.
Most people think in order to drive the value of their company, we have to go out and make more money. We have to go out and be more profitable. Mm-hmm. That is the opposite of what we should do. Now, that just throws everybody in the back of the seat. They're like, hold on a second, Justin, you've lost your mind. Okay, here's the deal. In order to drive the value of a company up, you have to reduce, there's a technical term called company-specific risk. It's the risk that company has that no other company has. In order to reduce company-specific risk, you have to increase those 4 capitals that I spoke about. If you go out and say, I'm selling $200,000 of revenue this year, I'm going to double it to 4 and then sell my company. Think about what you just did. You just put 100% more pressure into an organization whose systems are probably leaky, whose systems can't handle that amount of pressure. And the buyer is going to look at that and say, hang on a second, let's use a water hose for an example. This is the way I think as a financially simple person.
Okay.
If I have a water hose and I'm just letting it run out the end of the hose and I'm fixing to drink some water out of it, then there's not that much pressure on that hose.
Right.
If all of a sudden I put my finger over the end of it, I may be able to hold 30, 40 pounds of pressure with my finger and just keep it from leaking out. If you put 3,000 pounds of pressure through that hose, it's going to blow the hose to pieces.
Right.
Not much less blow my finger off the end.
Right.
The same thing happens whenever we go out and we just try to make a quick sale, or we try to give a lot more profitability. If we chase profitability without working on the intangible assets, or those things which cause our multiple to increase, then we're going to end up causing that pressure to build up on the water hose and blow up the water hose. On the other hand, if you make sure the water hose is unkinked, if you make sure the water hose has no leaks in it, if you make sure you got a good pressure on it, if you make sure you have a good sprayer on the end of it, because you get out there and water the grass all day long and not have a problem.
Right.
And you can actually end up making more money. Okay?
Yes.
So for us business owners, man, I love it. I love the American dream. I want to go out there and produce a ton of money. But if we do that, we could end up damaging or causing problems to the value of our companies. So if you want to grow the value of your company, don't chase profitability. I didn't say don't go make money. What I said is focus on the systems. Focus on teaching a 16-year-old how to cook french fries without burning the building down.
Right.
And if you do that, you will now reap the results as Ray Kroc did some 60, 70, 80 years later.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Justin, as we are wrapping up, and this time, I mean, you've given us just a ton of just great nuggets for us to go back and really chew on. What are just simply, what are 2 or 3 best practices for business owners? We've got people listening to this podcast who are they're worker bees now, and they're looking at transitioning out of the workforce into entrepreneurship or into business ownership. You've got some folks that are listening that have been in business for many years to various degrees of success. Some have been ultra successful. Some have had struggles along the years and been successful. Some have just not been successful at all. But for anybody, what would you what are just 2 or 3 best practices?
Sure. So, Ron, you and I are in Tennessee. Let's say I drove over to Memphis. Well, we're about 6-7 hours away, and you and I were going to take a road trip.
Okay.
If you and I were going to take a road trip and we got in the car, we want to know a couple of things. We want to know, number one, where are we going?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, well, we've already kind of concluded we're going to drive across somewhere to get there. So let's say, for simple, I always say I'm going to drive to Oregon. So let's say you and I come over and pick you up in Memphis, and you and I are going to take a road trip to Oregon. Okay, we know where we're going now. When do we want to get there? Because we can spend 70 years making our way to Oregon.
Right.
Or we can spend it for 3 days or 2 days nonstop, or a day. I've done that almost, driving across the country. Okay? So we have to know where we're going, when we want to get there. We already know how in our example that we're going to get there. We're going to drive in a car. Why are we going to Oregon? Is it to see the mountains? Is it to see the coast? Is it to see the shipping lanes? Why are we going there? We have to know why we're going there. We have to know all the possible detours, or at least try to identify the possible detours. What happens if we're going through Wyoming for some reason, and there's a herd of buffalo in the middle of the road, and it's got to shut down? They can't move those stupid things.
Right.
We're going to have to detour. So if you take that silly little example, okay, and this is just the way my old country brain works, to answer your question is this: no matter where you're at in business, where are you going? Why are you trying to get there? If you say it was because I want to make a lot of money, forget it. You're not going to do it. Because if you make money to God, it's a fleeting victory.
Right.
But if you make it about something else, whatever the why is, you can often achieve it. So where are you going? What do you see? Where do you see the picture of your business in 5 years? One of my dreams is, we all know, well, we probably know who Tony Robbins is, and there's a financial guy by the name of Dave Ramsey, who I like to listen to him sometimes, and there's a Robert Kiyosaki. One of my goals is, I'm 40 years old. By the time I'm 60 years old, I want my name to be heard on a national level, not from an elevation standpoint, but from a standpoint that I believe I have a message that can change the way business owners think, and I can change those stats where only 3% of businesses don't sell. We can change that. That's my mission.
Yes.
So I know where I'm going. I know why I want to get there. How am I going to get there? Well, I've got an idea today on how I'm going to get there, but man, I've been in business for almost 25 years. I realize that the goal I set out today is going to change tomorrow, so I got to be nimble enough. So if you answer the question with the analogy of a car trip across the country, where are you going? Why are you going there? How are you going to get there? And are you nimble enough to be flexible in that trip, knowing that, yeah, we could go up and we could go to South Dakota and see the monument, Mount Rushmore, on our way to Oregon, and be just perfectly fine delaying a day or two.
Sure.
So if you know where you're going, how to get there, that metaphor that I'm giving, that example, man, that's the only advice I can give. And by the way, that's often the one thing that no matter how successful people are, that's the one thing that I typically have to bring them always back to is, where are we going? Why are we trying to get there? Because if you know that, then it becomes clear.
Yeah. And Justin, that's the practicality of just moving, and that applies personally and professionally.
Absolutely.
So that's a phenomenal analogy. And that's one I think I may have to even use. So you might have to get that one protected so you can get credit. I'll make sure you get credit for that one.
I hear you, buddy.
Hey, listen, NYB community, our guest today has been Justin Goodbread. He's the founder and owner of Heritage Investors and financiallysimple.com. That's what you need to check out today. So if you're driving, you need to pull over, go to financiallysimple.com. Make sure you check that out. Podcast, blog, everything that you need. And it's very important, whether you're starting out business or you've been around for 500 years, that you make sure you understand the process that Justin has laid out here for you. If you want to connect with Justin, at Justin Goodbread on social media, make sure you do that. You can email him, Justin at financiallysimple.com. Justin, it's been just a pleasure, man. It's great to connect with you. I love your energy. Best wishes to you personally and professionally as you go forward, and I love to remain connected.
Likewise, brother. Thank you so much. I enjoyed the time today and hope that added some value to your listeners. Look, folks, burn the boats, charge hell with a water pistol. You can reach your dreams. You can do it. Man, that's phenomenal, man, and a great way to close it out. So thank you again, brother, and we'll be in touch soon, man. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, sir.
Okay, man. All right. Bye-bye. So that was Justin Goodbread, Heritage Investors and financiallysimple.com. Listen, a lot of what he said, I've shared with you, and we've had other guests that have shared with you. Justin just does it in a very good, simple, plain, by using analogies method. But you've got to make sure that you understand how to level up your business and how to define it as a business to begin with. I've said this, and some people get upset, which I don't really care. There's one thing to have a glorified hobby. There's one thing to create your own job. And a lot of people that are calling businesses, and I'm guilty of this too, calling a business really just something where you've created your own job because you didn't want to work for folks, or you've been fired, or you've been laid off, and you were pissed off about that, and it impacted your family, impacted you financially. You were coming out of the downturn, and you just said, to hell with it, I'm going to start my own quote-unquote business. But going from kind of a lifestyle company to creating an automated process, if that's your goal, may not be your goal. But if it is your goal, then you've got to look at the intangible assets and how you groom your business for success, and what's your exit strategy. So we'd like to thank Justin again. Let me get into something real quick on Ron's one rundown. All right, real quick, let me jump into, so this week, or actually yesterday, by the way, you had the Dow Jones drop 800 points. I haven't even looked today to see too much how it was doing. I've been kind of running around with some things personally, but you had the Dow Jones drop, and the yield curve is inverted, meaning that the 2-year Treasury yield and the 10-year Treasury yield are inverted, which means that the 2-year interest rate has exceeded the 10-year rate. And that's usually one of several signs of an impending recession, whether that's to come sooner or whether later. It's going to come, okay? Sitting and worried about who's going to be first to say it was coming and all that, you can get into that game. But here's the thing, no matter how it comes, and you're talking with some, I'm not a guy at 38 years old, I'm not a guy here that This is going to be my first rodeo, right? And I wasn't, a bean counter when 07 and 08 hit. Some folks will come and tell you they're my age, but, and they went through the downturn and they were still at their mom's house, or, they were working somewhere and they were the bean counter. They were the ones that corporate told to do stuff and you did it. I was corporate even at that age in terms of, being in leadership. At that point, I was a business banker in 07 and 08 and 09. I remember when it hit. I had some good years during that point professionally. Not now personally. I took some hits with some risks that I took. Some necessary, some unnecessary. But here's the thing that I want you to take away from in all the hysteria that you're going to hear about a recession. Yes, it's going to come. The market has to correct itself, and it will, and you'll rebound from it, just like you have before. If it's your first time going through the rodeo, hey, you're going to rebound from it. But here's the thing. You've got to look at, personally and professionally, how you manage your debt. You got to look at how you manage your income. You got to get more than one stream of income. If you're sitting at work, if you're sitting somewhere, you can't just sit and rely on, when you go through downturns, you've got to get busy and active. And one way that you do that is having multiple streams of income, not multiple ways to do it, not multiple business plans on a flash drive, not multiple posts on Facebook, multiple streams of income, meaning they drive income consistently. They drive income, not potentially, not they could give you income. They drive income. If you don't have that, you can have 10 different things that you want to do to make money and generate commerce for yourself. But here's the thing. If they're not doing it, they are not streams of income. Sorry to break that to you. But in all positivity, you will make it through. You have resources to make it through. I remember, again, 10, 11 years ago when going through this with business owners. And business owners were freaking out. You had banks that were closing down. You had companies that were closing. They were laying people off. They were reacting to the news and the market. Don't overreact. Sometimes you have to remain calm amongst the chaos. Okay? And when you remain calm amongst the chaos, it can help you think and it can help you strategize. It can help you identify, plan, execute, and then reassess. So when downturns come, you can actually do even better than when the economy is in the uptick, which is what I plan to do. Why? Because you've got to keep your personal and business debts to a minimum. If it's not needed, shed it. Right? You got to make sure that you've got multiple streams of income that come from sources that are sustainable. Okay? Think about the pain points that people have at any point in time, much less during downturns. Okay? And hone in on that. Hone in on that with your business. And you may have to pivot some things and whatnot. It's going to be tough for some people. These downturns now, the economy is digitized. It's global. Of course, and so the impacts on them on different parts of the world and the country can be more widespread than others. But you can't just sit there hoping, because hope is not a strategy. Get active, and then let someone help you. Broke people think that everything's a scam. Except for the things that they're doing, of course, because working for a multi-billion-dollar company and making $12 and $13, $14 an hour. That's okay, but then everything else is a scam. Listen, the company that you're working for, with that definition, you would have called it a scam too. When Justin mentioned McDonald's earlier, you would have called that a scam too 60 years ago. How in the hell are you going to make a cheeseburger the same in Boston, Massachusetts as you do in Los Angeles, California, and everywhere in between? With 16 to 18, 19-year-olds. How you going to do that? That's a scam. That burger ain't going to be worth nothing. Now, I'm not going to debate that last point. But what I am going to debate is, and challenge you on is, they developed a system. Now today, you walk to any McDonald's, they got the 1 billion served up there, and you eat there whether you like it or not. For most people. So again, don't get caught up in the hype of recession talk and downturn, because you're going to hear it a good bit. And we've got more media even now than we did in 07 and 08, by the way. And there's more podcast. Yeah. So people are going to get into the hype and the hysteria and the talk, right? The bottom line is, don't be on an island, but have streams of income and keep your debt to a minimum. And if you do that, not only will you make it through, because it's not just about survival, you want to thrive. So let's thrive, and we can do that together. Ron at themybpodcast.com. Email me if you've got show ideas. If I can be a resource to you in any kind of way, let me know. I'd love to be able to do that. I may be in your town. Next week, I'm going to be in Wisconsin and Illinois. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you again to my guest today here on episode 105 of the Minding Your Business podcast, Justin Goodbread at Justin Goodbread on social media, financiallysimple.com, and Heritage Investors. Make sure you connect with him as well. Thank y'all so much for sharing, liking this podcast. We've completed now episode 105. We're going to be back to you with 106 and beyond. Entrepreneurship, real estate, trending news. There's no business like minding your own. Go be great.
What we do here is go back.